Good morning to you. Welcome to Camnet Breakfast. I'm your host. My name is Precious Mzea Sakaleji. And yes, of course, it's yet another beautiful day and I'm not alone on set as usual. I'm joined by my counterpart, Sarah Chanda Muvanga. Good morning.
Good morning, Precious. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, very fine.
How has been your week?
It has been productive. Can't complain much. I don't know about your week. How has it been?
I can't really seem to put the days together of my week, but we made it to the weekend and we move on.
Okay, that's really lovely.
Yeah, we'll move on. Remember, you can actually interact with us on the numbers scrolling on this screen. We are looking at current affairs, the current situation, and if there's any topic of discussion that caught your attention in the course of the week, either on social media or in the news items, just feel free to get in touch with us either on Facebook or directly call us right here in the studio. Now, quickly, before we waste much of your time, let's get into our first conversation of the day, which is the Health Corner. We'll join you on the other side. Good morning.
Good morning to you listeners. I'm Dr. Mutinta Muyuni, member of the Medical Women's Association, and I'm here to talk to you today a little more about the menstrual cycle. Today we are going to discuss the menstrual cycle disorders. Now, yesterday we talked about where this all starts, the beginning of what we call our womanhood or our mark of womanhood, the menstrual cycle. We have a monthly menstrual period. Now that can come. The bleeding can be anything between three days to about 7 days, and it comes every, say, 21 to 28 days ideally. Now I want it to be clear that each woman must understand their own cycle. Some women or girls may have a 21-day cycle, meaning from the start of the last bleeding until the next bleeding, there's a space of 21 days in between. The first day of the bleeding, we call it day 1. The middle of the cycle is where we expect ovulation to occur. Now I'll give you a tip. There are a lot of apps on our phones these days that help us to count and keep track of our menstrual cycles. And this can help us anticipate. For example, if I know I'm traveling the week I'm having my period, I'll know to prepare a bit extra, or I'll know what I'm expecting. Maybe I might need some painkillers for my period pains, things like that. So it's always good for us girls not to just say, oh, I can't remember when my last period was. Let's be aware, let's be smart, let's predict our expected period. I'll tell you why a little bit later. So, when we have our periods, we may differ. So don't feel bad if your period comes every 21 days. Rather, understand yourself and your own cycle. I'm emphasizing this because we always compare ourselves to other people. Try and compare maybe even to the women in your particular family or your mother, your sisters. See how it went for them. But by far, embrace your own cycle as your own. Manage yourself because we are all unique. Each of us has a unique cycle. There are disorders associated with the variations in the menstrual cycle. One is amenorrhea. Amenorrhea is absence of the menstrual cycle. It may be primary, meaning by age 16, 18, I've not had a menstrual cycle at all. In this case, we'd encourage you to seek medical care and see why is this not happening. Is it that there is something different in my reproductive system, or my hormones are just delayed in maturing up, my reproductive system, my ovulation is delayed. What could be the problem? Your doctor or healthcare provider will be able to assist you, do some tests and find out. Like I said, don't worry about being different. Let's embrace ourselves. Let's not panic. There's good news for everybody. As long as you accept how you are as an individual, you are good enough for me, you are good enough for everyone else. The second disorder I'll bring your attention to is polymenorrhea. When you have bleeding starting and stopping and resuming again within the same month. We call that polymenorrhea or frequent menses. This can be a bit upsetting because sometimes during our periods, the fact that we have to change pads, the fact that we become a bit moody, a bit bloated, so slow down in everything that we're doing, having a period twice can be a bit much. And so you want to take care of yourself and see, do I just have a short biological cycle, or this is caused by a medical condition? All these answers can be told to you from a healthcare provider. The challenge with polymenorrhea or frequent periods is sometimes you become anemic, or your blood level or hemoglobin becomes low. You may feel a bit dizzy and a bit uneasy as you are going about your work. Sometimes you even black out. Don't let yourself get to that stage. Know your cycle and know how to manage yourself. I think the most common disorder of the menstrual cycle is menorrhagia, what we call heavy menses or heavy bleeding. Now this one can be due to hormone levels. It can also be due to anatomic conditions or physical conditions of the uterus. It may be larger because of fibroids, or it may be larger because of the lining is thicker because of conditions like polyps or small growths within the lining, or increased thickness due to the influence of hormones like estrogen. Now, like polymenorrhea or frequent periods, menorrhagia typically will lower your HB or your hemoglobin. It will lower your blood level and result in anemia if you don't manage yourself. Now, because we don't talk about periods, we might not know that this is actually a problem. So I want you to listen carefully. If you fall in any of these categories and you find that your quality of life is suffering because of your menstruation, visit a health center, discuss with us, open up, don't be shy. A lot of women go through this, but the trick is knowing how to manage yourself. I'm Dr. Mutinta Muyuni, gynecologist from Medical Women Association, talking to you today about menstrual disorders. We'll talk a bit more about that tomorrow.
And welcome back from that educative clip that we had there with the doctor, where she had to explain the stage of menopause in a lady or a girl child. You know, it's very important that when you know you're reaching that stage, you be prepared or cooking yourself so that you don't mess up yourself. It's very much important. If at all you're going somewhere, you carry a chitenge as a woman, or as a lady, or as a girl, you carry a chitenge in your bag. If you know that you are almost there, it is better you even carry a pad in advance, you know, just preparing yourself. So, Precious, what can you enlighten maybe on that a very educative health corner that we had today?
Honestly speaking, there's some things that I just learned from the clip that we just watched. I didn't know that it also can be at early stages, because half the time we know that menopause is between the age of 40 and 50, but then there are some hormones that you get some hormonal imbalance that it starts even at an early stage. So I'm hoping that we have learned one or two things, like Sarah mentioned. It's just very important as a female to carry a certain type of cloth in your bag, just in case there are such incidences. And also remember to also just carry a standby sanitary towel, just in case that happens. So hope you are preparing yourself, considering the fact that you can know if it's going to start at an early stage, or maybe if you're going to start at the normal age, which is between 40 and 50. So right about now, let's quickly get into our second segment of the day and see how the stock exchange rate looks like as of today on the money market.
So the United States dollar is buying at 15 kwacha 0.60 ngwe, and it is selling at 15 kwacha 0.91 ngwe. The euro is buying at 15 kwacha 0.23 ngwe, and it's selling at 15 kwacha 0.54 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 0.88 ngwe, and it's selling at 0.89 ngwe. The British pound is buying at 17 kwacha 0.25 ngwe, and selling at 17 kwacha 0.59 ngwe. That's what we have on the foreign exchange.
Well, there you have it. Now, let's quickly get into what has been happening in the course of the week, which is zooming into the headlines. One of the conversations that caught my attention, or has been catching my attention for the longest time, is the increasing stories of sodomy. And also how the whole country of social media and also media houses are talking about homosexuality, and how the government has maintained to say there's actually a hospital for the LGBTQ community at the University Teaching Hospital, and they have maintained that the reason it was established, it won't be closed down, because then it will derail the reason why it was established. And also the Vice President, Madam Talinamango, mentioned to say we should not only leave this to the government. The churches also need to come in, because she said that these people need prayers as well. And also I remember one of the news items we carried, they spoke about how we shouldn't just assume someone his homosexuality just because of the way they dress or the way they talk. But I honestly feel it's a very sensitive topic. And if you're going to point at someone and say they are homosexual, there's something that you have seen that you feel is not normal. We're yet to find out how far this conversation will be about homosexuality and sodomy in the country. And it has been addressed by different political parties and different stakeholders, as well as concerned citizens. And I didn't know that we actually have a clinic. So they mentioned there's actually an LGBTQ community clinic at the University Teaching Hospital, apart from them being taken to a correctional facility if they're suspected to be homosexuality, and they have proven that, not suspected actually, if they've proven that you are homosexual, you actually, apart from them being going to correctional facility, they take you to the hospital. But then there was a suggestion that also they need to be prayed for, because it's not known to man that such things should actually happen. So we'll play back to back the clips of Mr. Jack Mimbo and also Madam Talinamango talking about the same.
The Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Jack Mwimbu, has clarified that contrary to some claims from some sections of society purporting that a special clinic for homosexuals was built recently, it was established before the new Dawn government ascended to power.
It is not us. It is the government of the PF, after being advised and after having considered the issues, to establish a special clinic at the UTH for the homosexuals. It is not the UPND government. If they establish the clinic at UTH to provide special services for the homosexuals, it follows that the PF government then knew that there was homosexuality in this country.
As asked whether government had any intentions of closing the special clinic at UTH, Mr. Mwimbu said no at the moment.
It was established for a specific purpose, and I have no doubt in my mind that that purpose still exists. So we cannot close it for the time being until the situation changes, because we have to protect our people from the virus of HIV and AIDS. You are all aware that one of the major ways of transmitting HIV and AIDS is through these unnatural acts that are being perpetrated.
He also refuted claims that he has been warning people against speaking on homosexuality through parliament.
I've never threatened anybody. My statement on the floor of the House, which I made, was that all of us have the responsibility to protect the moral standing of our people in this country and ensure that we adhere to the laws of this country. I also requested various stakeholders to educate those who are involved in homosexuality to desist from that vice, for it is against the law of this country.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mwimbu says government has just unearthed a scam in which some political parties, media houses and pressure groups are sponsoring sporadic incidences of men and boys being sodomized. He has maintained that the UPND government will not condone acts of homosexuality. He adds that preliminary investigations indicate that some political parties have hijacked the homosexuality agenda to dent the name of the head of state. Tito Kalama, Camnet News.
Our generation shall praise your name. Our generation shall praise your name.
This is a song which, according to Zambia's Republican Vice President Mutanena Lumango, strongly reaffirms Zambia's stance as a Christian nation. Various social happenings in the country, such as the recently held Lusaka July Festival, which was characterized by cross-dressing for men, as well as sodomy sexual abuse cases in the country, have however brought the country's Christian status under question. This prompted Republican Vice President Mutalena Lumango to address the issue Friday morning during a state and church engagement which saw various church leaders come together to discuss the matter. Speaking during the meeting, the vice president says accusations that the current administration supports gay rights have continued, despite public announcement that it does not support these acts. She has therefore called on the church to re-echo government's stance on the matter.
We should therefore focus on being united and speaking with one voice as a nation. The church should build an intentional and purposeful message to grossly condemn these acts in the country. You are aware that in history, sodomy was used as a dehumanizing weapon against weaker members of the male society. On the issue of National Day of Prayer, fasting, I think there is repentance also, and reconciliation. I want to thank you all for sending representatives to sit on the organizing committee for this very important day. My colleagues, particularly in social media, that want to say this, they have cancelled. This government, no, this government has not cancelled. We leave it to God to guide us.
Meanwhile, church representatives who were present during the meeting have spoken out on the issue.
There are certain pictures that have been shown and the police knows certain things of that kind. And they're not taking that step. I think on our side as EFZ, we want to request that the police need to become very proactive.
We now ask you, Your Honor, that probably
through your ministry, the permanent secretary, you can allow us to advance this by having television dialogue forums, radio dialogue forums, and many other forums, so that we emphasize indeed the national values and principles.
So we will stand with you as long as you see that this is wrong. The day that you will change, let it be made known to you now that we will not stand with you if you make this right.
They are still human beings, even though we do not accept their tendencies. Therefore, the church as a mother is always there to help them, to offer any kind of help that these people may need, so that they may, if possible, convert or live in a manner that is acceptable in a society like Zambia.
The emphasis from the meeting was that homosexuals should also be given spiritual counseling in addition to them facing the law. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Well, welcome back. There you have it. That is the current stance on homosexuality in Zambia by the Vice President and also Minister for Internal Security, Mr. Jack Mwimbu. So I honestly feel that we shouldn't misuse social media and just point out to say, no, this is the current state that's happening, because there are people that actually take social media stories as the gospel of truth, even though they haven't confirmed. So before you know it, the stories would have spread. Like I mentioned earlier, it's actually a very sensitive area to talk about, and it's a very sensitive issue. So moving on to our next story that caught our attention in the course of the week as well is another incident of a woman that went to a named hospital to get a family planning jab.
Yeah, injection.
And the side effects are pretty bad, but she was told after she moved from one hospital to the other that the reason why she is having issues with her arm after getting the family planning jab is because the health practitioner didn't disinfect their hands before they did the process, which is very sad. That's negligence.
Very
so let's take a look at this story and then we'll continue on the other side.
Barely a week after a woman who had her arm amputated due to suspected wrong family planning injection was released from the hospital, another woman of Lusaka's Chawama compound, identified as Dorcas Malama, is nursing a serious wound on her left arm that nearly left her amputated. Miss Malama, a 24-year-old and mother to one child, has told Camnet News that she developed a painful arm shortly after receiving a Depo-Provera, a contraceptive injection, at a named public health facility in Lusaka. She tells this reporter that when the situation worsened, she went back to the named health post but was referred to Chilenge Level 1 Hospital, where she was given painkillers that did not help the situation.
This is family planning, Depo. Then after analysis, the following day, kwanja zinamba kubaba. Afterwards, nabona shita notice that kwanja yamba kuvimba. Then nabona nkalako 3 days, because it was a weekend, sipasebenza kwenye nabona analysis family planning. Nabona bwele lako, kutini to explain problem, mababa ntuma that I should go to Kanyama General Hospital. Kanyama General Hospital, I was just given an injection, antibiotics, na painkiller. From there, I stayed the day, problem ya munkala west, kwanja mbwenda ivimbi lako. Bananisa advised that I should be using ice. Na using sako ice kuchinapo, but still problem ya nkala west.
Miss Malama further explains that she later decided to seek medical services at the University Teaching Hospital, where when she inquired on why her condition had turned to worse, she was told that it might have been as a result of negligence by the health practitioner who failed to disinfect her arm before administering the injection.
Ku UTH, after banisuka, spananze vidivonzi, so penna bolela ku review. Nabona indomfunza what really caused this problem, and I knew that it would have been negligence ya nurse. Maybe spana kiline po chita inject na spirit, because wafungo kilina na spirit, so maybe anangesa ma bacteria mukati mwa skin injection mboko zinga ichilonda kwa kupanga mafina mkati.
The mother of a 7-month-old baby now says due to her condition, she has been unable to breastfeed her baby and now wants compensation from the government over the pain that the whole incident has caused to her family, including a little baby.
Just be compensated for this. Yeah, and I think the government should also take precautions. They should provide all the things that are necessary needed in my health post. Because I'm sure this problem is not really the fault of the nurse, but maybe they didn't have spirit which they could use to clean my harm.
A mother to the victim has appealed to the health practitioners in the country to pay more attention when handling health-related matters.
Instead apasevenzeko apasasevenza then mwana achepesa 7 months aleka kunyonka elo ife na ife atipasa burden yosakira vakudya va mwana so ava vantu vafunika at least vakazika konzeru chifukwa vanasanka inchito bamene sengatsi vayeze kufuna kusevenza sembe vanaleka chabe kansi kupambana kuti vakazisevenzera vantu vafuna help ku health manje futi vileta ma problem.
Pantu ngabena ngabaleposa kwa mano ishi muntu uli obale chitando ala abafye bwino so pantu penyo yali moyo ifo chali tupapusha bonze pantu poto ambira ukula shama nyere tikale sana.
As this young mother is coming to term with her condition, our hope is that no other woman should go through what she had to endure. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
Welcome back. I don't know why I feel after these clips we'll have a lot of babies around.
Yes, definitely.
Because I personally feel like women will be scared now to get contraceptive jabs.
Jabs, I think so. Because I think the issues they're still increasing, you know. We had the other report concerning the woman whose arm was amputated. And also sad. This other one, so I feel that in our country of Zambia, the birth records
actually might go high.
Yes, it might go high.
And anyway, we are not parents yet, and we can't really advise more on that. But this is just general knowledge. I feel like when you want to take that step, there are consultations that needs to be done, and then they'll check you and recommend what type of contraceptive is safe for you, or maybe you decide which one you think is safe for you. Probably we know there's the oral one, the one for the tablets, the one for 30 days where you take one every day for at a certain time, specific time.
And I know on that part, like if at all you start taking out the pills, you don't have to miss a day.
When you miss a day,
when you miss a day, it's more like you've just destroyed the process. So you have to start maybe a week. I don't know if
a week after. I
think we should have.
We should have a doctor to just explain on contraceptives, and then also I know there's the jab, the one for 3 months, or one for a month, and there's the one the IUD. Then there's the hormonal. There's so many contraceptives options, and I feel like you should consult before you take that step. We cannot run away from the fact that at some point a woman needs to undergo that process. But there are some women that are actually very lucky. They don't actually need such jabs to control for birth control. So just make sure you consult before you get into these things.
But I think okay, quite all right. Like for the ladies' report. For her, I think she went to the hospital, you know.
Yes, a named hospital.
Yes.
And the health practitioner didn't disinfect.
Yes, didn't disinfect his or her hand, and that was the main cause of that condition. But we just hope and pray that at times you just consult before doing certain things. Yeah.
And I feel like a woman's health is very important. There's a clip that we ran yesterday. When I remember it, I'll definitely play it, where women were advised to take care of themselves and make sure that they go to the hospital, certain hospitals. You just, because I've noticed this, hope that doctor has a license. I've not, these doctors have a license. I was going to mention what area and all, but I don't want to put them in trouble. I have noticed there are certain areas where a certain doctor works for a certain hospital in government, and then they open a small, it can be a drugstore, but then they attend to patients, at the same time. I don't know if that's allowed, or maybe they're given a certain license where they're allowed to operate away from the hospital. So I feel like most cases, even the other woman whose hand was amputated, it was from not even a hospital or a clinic. It was a drugstore. But then the person said, I can help you with this. This is what you want. And she paid 20 kwacha. So I feel like, let's consult before we get into these things. At the end of the day, we're putting our lives at risk, and also it's very expensive. It's back and forth movements to and from the hospital just to make sure that you are okay once such things happen. So if you're a lady and you're planning on doing so, getting into contraceptives or birth control pills or whatsoever, just make sure that you get the right information and consult. Okay, inquire before you actually go through with the process. But anyways, we are still zooming into the headlines. Right about now, let's just take a quick short break, and then we will continue with the conversation on the other side.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Television, not just another channel.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. You're still on the Camnet Breakfast. Now, we were just zooming into the headlines before we went on that break. And then moving on to our next story that caught our attention in the course of the week is that of fertilizer suppliers that were given a tender, and then afterwards excuse me, afterwards it was ended, or it was cut off. So now they have taken it to court, and they want to find out why the tender that they were given to supply fertilizer in the 2022-2023 farming season was cut, and this is what happened.
In a twist of event, 4 aggrieved fertilizer suppliers whose tender was cancelled by the Zambia Public Procurement Authority, ZPPA, have rushed to the Lusaka High Court seeking a declaration that the said decision is illegal and unreasonable. Few days ago, the ZPPA cancelled the fertilizer tender which was recently awarded by the Ministry of Agriculture to Evergreen Fertilizer Limited, Seton Investment Limited, Samar Agro Investment Limited, and Corncake Investment Limited. After the process was flouted, the 4 who have commenced judicial review proceedings against ZPPA and the Ministry of Agriculture wants the court to quash the decision by the Procurement Committee, the Ministry of Agriculture, for terminating a tender granted to them to supply, delivery, warehousing and distributing of 259,992 metric tons of Compound D fertilizer for the 2022-2023 farming season, and has now embarked on a limited bidding or direct bidding procedure involving the unsuccessful bidders that applied the notice of the best evaluated bidders. They have submitted before court that in June 2022, the Ministry of Agriculture advertised and called for eligible bidders through an open national bidding process for the supply and delivery of Compound D fertilizer for the 2022 and 2023 farming season. And on the 19th of August 2022, the Ministry of Agriculture indicated that they won the said tender. States that on the 12th of September 2022, the defendants cancelled the said tender. They state that the decision of the Appeals Committee of the ZPPA, public procurement principles are set out in Regulation 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 and 15, as the appeal was determined on issues not raised by unsuccessful bidders and was heard without according them an opportunity to be heard before the cancellation, despite being the best evaluated bidders. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
I would do the same. I would definitely do the same. You give me a tender and then afterwards you cut it off without proper explanation. I will take it. I'll sue you. Because me, I've already budgeted for the money.
Yes.
I've already budgeted for the money, not even for luxury, but for business purposes.
Yes,
and for me, that's something on the CV. That's like a highlight because I won a big tender and I was asked to supply this certain amount of fertilizer and yada yada, which means it will attract more business for the fact that they will know I am trustworthy if a government institution allowed me to get such a big tender. But anyways, talking about business and making benefits, we are no longer wearing masks. It feels like freedom from 2019. 2 years ago, actually, we were hit by a deadly virus, coronavirus, and it was horrible. Some shops were closed, people were laid off, people started working from home, and then we had an increase of gender-based violence, murder, sexual abuse, and so many things because now people are just asked to stay home, and in home there's so many things that happen in homes, and there's so many things that we escape if we go to work, which is very sad because I feel like home should be a safe haven. It shouldn't be something that you get frustrated once you think of if you're at work all away. But anyways, this comes as a complaint from mask sellers. They have complained that the business has gone down since the ban was lifted. Of wearing masks. We are now considered safe because most of the people have been vaccinated. I don't know if they're still doing the boosters, the jobs.
I think to those who didn't, of course, they are like you just visit the health facility where they're doing such. Then you be given the booster or jabbed.
For the vaccine.
For the vaccine.
It's a good thing anyway. And also one thing I noticed when I traveled to Kabompo, I think that was last month, the area I was at there was no shop that were selling masks. At all.
Serious?
At all. In that area there were, I hadn't seen, I was there for like 2 weeks and I didn't see anybody wearing a face mask.
You know, it's also caught my attention the time I went to ShopRite in Kabwata. Kabwata ShopRite? Yeah. So I was like, should I buy a mask or maybe should I just go without a mask? I think let me try it. I go without a mask. The time I went there, everybody wasn't wearing them. Everyone. I didn't see anybody wearing a mask.
It becomes like,
hey, we're back to normal.
We're back to normal. And you know, there would be times also, I would have incidences where I am on a bus and then I am the only one that's wearing a mask.
Then you feel that kind of weird.
And I feel like I'm sure there's someone in the bus that's just telling me, so but for
real, okay, such congested places, I think a mask should be worn, no matter what, because we have these other
airborne diseases.
Yeah, like flu, cough. You know, we get it through the air and all that. There's dust, you know. Just
masks were uncomfortable. I can't lie to you. I can't lie to you. I had issues wearing masks because I wear specs sometimes. So now you're breathing through the mask and then there's fog on your glasses. That struggle was too real to not be excited that we're not doing that anymore. So some mask sellers have actually been complaining that business has gone down since the lift of the ban of wearing masks in public. We were given an option either to continue, but currently you are free to walk into a shop without wearing a mask. And this is what the sellers had to say.
At the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, some enterprising minds took advantage of the situation by making business sense out of a global disaster. One of the COVID-19 golden rule of masking up saw an influx of youths besiege the central business district by targeting public places such as shopping malls and bus stops. Armed with bags of masks, the men and women were daily cashing in by selling masks at 5 kwacha each. It was only a little later that a mask would fetch for 3 kwacha. The COVID-19 masks vendors had a thriving business as government made it mandatory for citizens to wear masks to avoid the spread of the dreaded pandemic. Not anymore. Business is now slow for the COVID-19 masks vendors. In particular, are 2 youths found at Southgate Mall near Kolimo Tower. Soon after the lifting of wearing of masks, business has been slow for these 2 youths and others. They are to apply innovation, lest they starve their families by incorporating other commodities in their businesses.
Hapa inabwelako kumbuyo hapa. Si enda in short mavene enzo endera pacha. So you mask maona pamene nagulira pamande pawenizi. Nagulisa hapo cheo to the 20. So kalika paga kama nkalamo 50. So inabwela kumbuyo maningi. Yeah, mameli now survive la. That's why inagula go to my sweets. Pamene paja nezogulisa go to my mask so tunankala ko repressed fish. Ya kali banachita bani ma mask. Tuvala ma mask mu public sidi mandatory hapa. So yamene abantu banachita respond bonse. Mamene banachita announce.
Hapa niyo kosa. Niyo kosa kuchira boss. Siye ndio ndio kusenza kulisa kuche tulivu. So hapa yavuta rai.
Kudala mwanzo kulisa bwanji.
Tezo siliza wapake tutatu tubili. Ayenze kwenda kudala. Tezo kwani sana renting kulipira nyumba rent.
Chane chirengesa kuti business inkale slonja.
Kwacha zuba ile futhi banalisa mabasi.
One is a driver and the other is an occupational safety, health, environmental certificate holder. But they had to resort to selling masks because of lack of jobs in their respective fields.
Ndile driver na driving license.
Okay.
Siwa.
Okay.
Ngaichose mayo.
Ngaichose.
Driving license. Driving license siwa.
So mkambati.
So nisakira nchito ndi school. So panyendekeza nchito ningulisira mutu mamasi ndira. But otherwise nchito ikapezeka nsinasiya na voice.
Ninasha yako certificate mu occupation health and safety. So wamena ngapezeka kwa na nchito yo. Wanganipasa kwa nchito yopezeka na mamaski.
It is encouraging to see a cadre of youths engaging in genuine toil irrespective of their station in life. Surely, if they keep working hard, one day they will be rewarded with sustainable sources of income. Tito Kalama, Camnet News.
And welcome back. Indeed, a lot of people, those selling masks are indeed affected the most. You know, people are no longer buying masks in town. So those selling are now affected. You know, they've been surviving. There's some who've been surviving through that business. But we hope and pray that maybe they can find something they can be doing in town. And it has been Camnet Breakfast Show right here at Camnet TV, not just another channel. Right about now, I have been joined by our very special guest. He's a politician activist. He's Mr. Charles Mwelo. Sir, you're very much welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning, viewers out there.
Good morning to you, sir. So we have, he's a politician, I would say. He's a parliamentary politician, right, Mr. Mwelo?
Yes. I think I'm one of the candidates that is stood in the just ended general elections. I stood as an independent candidate in Mwense, where the mayor just recently was murdered, unfortunately. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Yes, so I would say I'm a politician.
Okay.
Yes.
So we go to the questions, right? Straight to the questions. Our first question: how would you describe the political environment?
Like I've said always, it is becoming, or it has become, quite stable. There is peace, except that as politicians, we are actually taking it for granted.
Okay.
Sometimes we are actually using statements that would make those that are in power or those that have made it be stable get annoyed in a way, except having experienced a little bit of some violence in the just ended Luangwa councilship elections. That was quite bad, but I think in general terms, the political environment currently is stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's really lovely. We can go to the other question.
Yes.
How urgent do we need to reform the constitutions in our country of Zambia?
We needed it like yesterday. And the reason is very simple. You know, like this time around, even our own lawyers are confused.
Yes.
They don't even know which one is the correct thing to do. And as a result of that, we are putting all the blames on our innocent judges. If this one loses, they will insult a judge. If that one wins, they are going to place the judges who are very innocent. So I think there is more to be done on our constitution. It hasn't been straightforward in a way. That's the way I actually take it. We need a constitutional reform.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talk about the performance of Kwacha.
Yes.
Yes. So what's your take on that?
Definitely when something has actually gone down, whether you like it or not, we need to appreciate. Dollar went up to maybe 21. If you actually go to the borders or if you go to these car dealers, the way people are actually ordering cars today, it's not the way they were actually ordering it maybe 3 months ago. So that simply means the appreciation of Kwacha is something that needs to be appreciated by any well-meaning Zambian. Yeah.
Okay.
So and it's my prayer that if it can go even up to 10, even better.
Oh yeah,
yes,
definitely.
because that will result in our commodities prices to actually go down.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You've also tackled on the part of prices to go down, but
Yes.
we have seen it's the concern of the people
Mhm.
that prices are not they're not dropped after we've seen that the Kwacha is performing so well. So what can be your take on that? That goods and services are not the prices are still on the same standard.
So definitely, in due course, the prices will come low. Let me put it this way. Let's say, for example, I ordered a car at 150,000 kwacha last maybe 5 months ago. Then today it is at 80 kwacha. Do you expect me to sell it at 80 kwacha? The answer is no.
Yes.
So definitely the commodities that are in circulations are those that were actually ordered before the kwacha. Okay, it's simple mathematics.
Definitely.
It's the simple mathematics. Definitely I cannot go and order a car at 20 kwacha. Then I try to order it to sell it at 100,000 kwacha.
Yeah,
No. So my take is that those commodities that are still high, it's simple. They are those that were actually ordered when kwacha was still high. And it is my prayer that we actually finish everything so that we just start new stocks in the shop. If we can have new stocks in ShopRite, new stocks in any other shops, definitely we are actually going to have the prices come down. That one it's also very simple and straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of late, the past 2 days or 3 days, we've heard and seen that the president was out of country of Zambia. You know, he went to the United States of America. So, can you just say something maybe on that trip of the president?
You know, it's very unfortunate that in our country we politicize presidential trips. When President Edgar Lungu was in power, the UPND in opposition were actually criticizing his trips. President HH is in power now and is actually moving out, and people are actually politicizing the trips. But one thing that we are forgetting is it's out of the trips that our leaders make that we have these investors coming on board. So definitely we need to appreciate the trips. Unless anyone comes and tells me to say, no, HH was out last week on his personal capacity as HH. He had actually just gone there for business as an individual. But definitely that is not the case. So we need these trips like yesterday. Why? Because they are the ones that are actually bring in the investors. Of course, we've got ambassadors out there, but investors meeting the president in such areas will also build confidence in the investors.
Okay, yes. And our other question, the president said he sealed a number of deals, including the world-class internet service provider will be investing in the country. But is this are these deals important to be actualized in our country?
Of course they are. Don't you need internet?
We do need internet.
We need it, yes. And don't you want the bundles to be cheap? We need that. So definitely we need those. They are very, very important. These deals that is actually selling are actually very, very, very good. And it's my prayer that instead of maybe having them in 6 months, if we can have them by next week, that will be actually appreciated.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely need those deals, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Indeed, we definitely need them. Because without internet,
it's become very expensive,
yes. Very expensive. So coming to the national security, we have seen a number of murders being recorded. What's your take on that?
It's very, very unfortunate, and I will simply talk about the recent one, the one that just happened in Mwense.
Yes.
You know, I was one of the candidates in Mwense, like I earlier stated. I campaigned with Honorable Kapapula. May he so rest in peace. And then even after losing an election, I came out number 2. After losing an election, you know, I was very impressed. You know, he's somebody who actually worked in the council as a councillor. So he actually used that experience and he took that to Mwense. You know, I was impressed when I was trying to convert a traditional piece of land into a title. The procedure that I was given to go through, I appreciated it, and I asked to say, but these things were not there before. Why are you actually doing all these things? You know, it's they told me to say no. They have actually been introduced by the current chairperson. So I was very, very impressed. Why? Because there was a procedure where, if you know, sometimes people could get a title on a piece of land, then the following day or the following year, or maybe after 10 years, when the owner had even died, they will start doing what quarrels. But with them, they are making sure that when you apply, they go there, they do that. So I think I will remember him for that. I'm actually going to remember him for that. So he had actually brought a bit of sanity in terms of land acquisition. So he's a very good gentleman. May he so rest in peace. And it's very, very unfortunate. And my only appeal to our security personnel is let them investigate and bring, if there are any people that are involved, bring them to book. We cannot be losing leaders like that. We can't have a council chairperson in a district, in a small district like Mwense, be lost like a rat. That's very, very unfortunate. Yes.
Yeah, right. Anyway, may he so rest in peace.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So our other question, let us zero in on the suspected murder of Mr. Mwense, council chairperson, as parliamentary contestant. What do you make his death on that?
It's a loss to the people of, not only the people of Mwense, but also the people of Zambia. You know, I know him as somebody, he had actually applied as a parliamentary candidate. Then let alone on doing adoptions, he had the PF actually opted him to go as the council chairperson. So it is a loss not only to the family, or maybe the people of Mwense, but the country at large. Because I know he had more to offer, more than only the people of Mwense. He was a very intelligent gentleman.
Very much so. How can we improve overall security and investigations in the country?
We need to give them support. Sometimes maybe they don't have machineries. Sometimes maybe we are not, it's political will. Let there be political will. Let's support them. Let's not only put a blame on everything, no. You know, sometimes some of these things, some of the duties they fail to do them, maybe due to lack of maybe machineries. You know, investigation is very expensive. It's very expensive. But my only appeal is, let us have a very strong security in our country. You know, there has been a lot of murder cases, abductions. Up to now, we don't know where Pamela is. So which means I think our security still has got the homework to do. Yes,
right.
but definitely they need our support.
You're right.
Yeah.
So this is our last questions, Mr.
Yes.
Charles.
Yes.
Keen to ensure the rule of law and cited the recent decisions by the courts on the Kabushi and Kwacha by-elections. You can highlight on that one.
That one again still takes us back to the constitutional reforms. That's why we actually said we need the constitutional reforms like yesterday. You cannot have a case goes to the constitutional court, it gets to the high court, to the court of appeal. So we don't even, at the moment, an ordinary person like me, or an ordinary person would not even know which one is the highest court in Zambia.
True.
So that one is being as a result of the certain reforms that needs to be made in the constitution. That one we need it like yesterday, and it has to be supported by all meaning Zambians.
Okay.
Yes.
No, it's all clear, and really we appreciate for what you've brought out and the clear pictures that you've given us. So, Mr. Charles, what can be your closing remarks before we come to an end of an interview?
I'm just like any other person mourning my elder brother,
yes,
Humphrey Kapapula, the person that I actually worked with very closely. My only appeal to the family or the people of Mwense, let us mourn him with dignity, and it is my prayer that we can have a person like him to be replaced in Mwense, because he definitely meant well for the people of Mwense. Yes, and then to the political players, let us not take the stability of the politics in the country for granted.
Yeah.
Let us not take it for granted. Let us know the languages to use when talking to each other or when debating issues. You know, sometimes you can insult a colleague in the way you actually present issues. It is something that is very bad, and we are not supposed to take it for granted.
Okay.
I think so far, President HH, in terms of stability, is doing quite well.
Indeed, he
Yes.
is. Anyway, we have come to the end of the show. We just want to thank you all viewers that are watching this breakfast show right at Camnet TV. And Mr. Charles, I really want to appreciate for coming through. Thank you for your time. So viewers, we've come to our end of the show, and we just want to say bye from me, Sarah Chandambanga, and Precious Muzea Sakaleji, and from the Camnet crew. It's a good day and blessed.